about nurturing the soul. And I would love to hear when we get together after service or whenever you can. Let me know how this resonated with you. You know, I think there are as many definitions of soul among you as there are numbers of you. So let me know how that is with you. But here we go. So I'm thinking there's sort of a moral conspiracy against the ego. We see ego as the part of us that's selfish, the part that gets us in trouble through its incessant demands for instant gratification and self-satisfaction. Yet modern psychology puts a great deal of faith or stock in having a strong ego. Ego development and positive self-concept are considered important ingredients of a mature personality. To shed light on the confusion about ego, I'd like to tell you a story. It's actually a famous myth, and it's the story of Narcissus. As the story opens, Narcissus is 16 years old and so lovely that many, many people are attracted to him. But he has a hard shell, and no one can seem to get very close to him. One young nymph named Echo falls in love with Narcissus. She has her own peculiar qualities. She can only speak words and phrases she has just heard from someone else. One day, Narcissus, looking for his friends, cries out, "Is anyone here?" "Here," Echo answers. "Come, let's meet over there," Narcissus says. "Meet there," Echo responds. But when she approaches him, Narcissus backs away. "I would die before I would give my power to you," he says. "You do not have an original thought." Echo feels so hurt and rejected, she loses her body and forever remains a mere repetitive voice. But that's another story for another day. The young Narcissus is brutal because he has yet to attain self-knowledge. He has not yet developed a soul. He is self-absorbed and surrounded with a cold protective coat that allows no true heart connection with anyone. Obsessive, but not genuine, this so-called self-love leaves no room for intimacy with another. It insists on its own way and cannot allow itself to be vulnerable at all. Narcissistic behavior reveals exactly what it lacks. A person suffering with narcissism asks over and over again, "Am I doing all right? Am I okay?" Because inside, he never feels that he is. In other words, the narcissist's self-absorption is not self-love, but a symptom of his inability to love and accept himself. Most of us suffer from some degree of this malady from time to time. So back to our story. Narcissus continues to repel all offers of love and friendship. One rejected suitor is so hurt, she curses him. "May you find out what it feels like to love someone deeply and not have that love returned," she said. Soon thereafter, Narcissus comes upon a pool of water in the woods, still and smooth, undisturbed by either human or animal. As Narcissus leans over the water to take a drink, he sees his image in the pool, and his attention is frozen. He is fascinated by the beauty of his own face, which looks as if it were carved out of cold, hard marble. Narcissus feels a great yearning to possess the person he sees in the water. He reaches into the pool, but much to his dismay, cannot get hold of the person he sees there. Thus, the curse comes to pass. But the curse turns out to have a blessing within it because it is in Narcissus' deep longing to be united with the image in the pool. His grief at being separate from the self he so desires that causes him to begin to grow up. The hardness of self-absorption is melted by longing and grief. And what emerges from this alchemy is a heart with the capacity to give and receive love. Like all the great myths, this one speaks eloquently of the human journey from superficiality to substance. When we were young, we tended to be totally absorbed with creating and maintaining an image of ourselves which we thought would cause us to be acceptable and loved by others. We carefully learn how to speak the lingo of the day. We wear trendy clothes that tell the world that we're with it and up to date. We buy cars that make statements about our wealth and prosperity. You know the drill. It looks as though we are in love with ourselves when the truth is we are deeply insecure. But at some point, we hit a wall, perhaps internal, like disillusionment or doubt, perhaps external, like a financial setback or the loss of a love. We desperately need a self who has the strength and depth to get us through our difficulties, and the image we've created simply will not do the job. Some of the fur comes off the velveteen rabbit. It becomes a little tattered around the edges and enters like Narcissus upon the path of becoming real. This is the path that leads to healthy self-love and discovery of the soul. So what is soul? Several people have responded to my request and either told me or written about their definition of soul. Each one of them has said that it has something to do with our essence or core. That part of us that's most authentic, that is capable of being empathetic, that is drawn to and nourished by beauty and truth and generosity and goodness. Two people said they thought of soul as that of us which never dies. And I thought about that and I thought, well, yes. The soul, our soul, can live on in the heart of the people that we touch along the journey. Yes, it seems like the quality of our soul speaks louder than our words, doesn't it? It reaches across the gap between us in a way that words never will. We feel it, and yet it's hard to put into words. I think of soul as lying somewhere between the heart and the gut. It's the part of us that takes our life experiences and finds the deeper meaning within them. It pivots between the spiritual and material, seeing the sacred in everyday experiences and finding practical application for spiritual principle. Thus, the soul houses our capacity to embrace the joys of life and be enriched by our sorrows rather than embittered by them. Our soul knows things. Have you noticed that? Without knowing how it knows. It is able to penetrate to the heart of people and situations and sense truth and untruth. Now, reflection is the key practice of the soul. And believe me, I'm not talking about obsessing over things or analyzing things to death. We all know the mind can do that, but the soul doesn't do that. Reflection is different. It has a meditative quality. It's the inner process of integration whereby we take our experiences, those that we thought were great and those that we thought were awful, and consider them from different perspectives. We allow them to cook inside of us until at last we are gifted with that core of beauty and truth and reality that's there. We realize what really matters and what does not. Our soul is capable of separating the wheat from the chaff, discarding that which is not useful to us, and holding on to the gold that will grow our character. And this is an essential process because the quality of our character is the measure of our personal power. It determines the quality of our life and whether we have a positive or negative impact on the world we encounter. In a way, our soul and character are intertwined. It was Narcissus' ego that first fell in love with his own reflection. And in a way, this was an important first step on the path to soul. The painful awareness that there was nothing substantial about a reflection in the pool, that there was nothing there to really hold on to, it is what caused him to search out the true self beneath the image, a search that he found eminently worthwhile. Because while ego is absorbed with image, soul has the capacity for true self-acceptance and love. It has an honest eye coupled with a compassionate heart. Where soul seeks information, where ego seeks information, soul seeks wisdom. Where ego seeks pleasure, soul seeks joy. Ego thrives on dramatic emotional highs and lows, while soul responds to life with deep feeling and allows the experiences of life to purify and enrich it. Our souls are nurtured by spiritual practice. Yet I believe that soul is quite different from spirit. Soul is not transcendent, but seeks and finds spirit in the ordinary, everyday experiences of life. It's connected to the world, has an eye and an ear for the world's suffering, and a sense of oneness with other people. It's very difficult, in my mind, for a soulful person to hate anyone, because having been honed by its own suffering, soul understands the vulnerability of others and lives in solidarity with them. Ecological sensitivity can only come from the soul. It is the soul that hears the groans of Mother Earth and knows she is part of the anima mundi, the soul of the world. The word ecology comes from the Greek word oikos, which means home. So ecology at its root does not mean earth science, but home science. The true ecologist knows that care of the earth and care of his own soul are one and the same thing. I got to thinking about fundamentalism with regard to soul, because I think we have so many ways of protecting ourselves from the things we don't want to feel. You know, we drink, we eat, we overwork, we marry, divorce, buy, shop, 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 you name it. We're very creative when it comes to self-protection. And fundamentalism is one of the most widespread strategies these days. And if you think I'm talking about fundamentalism found in churches, maybe, but it can show up in every aspect of our lives. Fundamentalism is basically black and white thinking. The religion of certainty. The religion of oversimplified, overgeneralized statements of how things and people are supposed to be. Fundamentalism is the antithesis of the soul. To me, it's the soul killer. For example, the religious fundamentalist looks to the Bible for moral certainty and the avoidance of doubt and anxiety. A soulful person reads the Bible too, but looks there for insight. For a fundamentalism, the Bible is something to believe in. For the soulful person, the Bible awakens spiritual imagination and causes a person to search in the heart for the highest possible meanings behind it. While a fundamentalist may memorize literal facts, a soulful person seeks the truth beneath the facts. Fundamentalism and materialism are tied together because they both think that what's on the surface, what's visible, is what's true. Soul knows that the deepest truth will never be found in the appearances of things. Our soul has the courage to grieve. There's no easy escape, no easy answers. For me, that first came home with the profound grief I felt over my divorce many years ago. Perhaps for the first time, I didn't try to talk myself out of my pain, nor did I run away from it, nor did I hide it from others. At times, I was angry and impatient with myself, but with support, stuck with it. Well, it's interesting how spirit works, because just this past week, an old friend whom I haven't seen in a long time, named Diana, called up to tell me, I guess she wanted to talk. She said she was going through a long period of grief. In the past year, she had lost her marriage, her sister, her career, her best friend, and her dog. Because of my experience with grief, I was able to be there for her in a visceral and heartfelt way. And I could authentically encourage her to stay with whatever she was feeling. I said to her, Diana, it's really worth it. And what I heard come out of my mouth was this: I am not the same person I was before. In that moment, I knew how true this was. Diana seemed immediately interested, and so she asked me how I thought I was different. What came through me, and it truly felt like it came through me, touched us both. I told her that during that period of grief, I had lost a lot of my hard edges. That toughness that I had used to shield myself in the world. I felt more open now, I said, more in touch with both my tears and my laughter. I told her how the confusion of a lost dream had caused me to discard my oversimplified answers for why things happened. That my sense of failure had healed a lot of my arrogance and given me more compassion for the failures and shortcomings of other people. I told her how I had to come to terms with my limitations. For an 8 on the Enneagram, this is not so easy.